what would you say is the right way? Like if you're talking to somebody, and especially a young person, right? So if you're talking to somebody who's in college, they're getting all this stuff fed to them about science, this, that, and the other, biology, and you're just having a conversation. What's your approach?
This is Dr. Chris Palmer. He's a really smart guy, and he's going to say a lot of really smart things. And you may hear him and go, but I'm here to explain to you what he's talking about so you can get the most out of this conversation. Let's check this out.
Yeah, so I think the best approach that, I'm going to pull something up here. The best approach that I would suggest is to understand that, the way that Christians start, the way that we start with our text and what we find holy and what we find sacred is we start from the point of divine revelation. I mean, we admit that we're people of faith, and the way that the text has come to us is through divine revelation. And I'm not sure that there's any way that you can prove it in the way that perhaps professors or people in the ivory tower are asking you to do it. But I think that the assurance that you find in that is that doesn't really invalidate what we're trying to do. I mean, we're people of faith. So I always point to Karl Barth. I mean, Karl Barth, he looked at atheism, and the way that he figured atheism was that he called it artless and he called it childish. And the way that he's saying that is because it's really nothing other than just kind of deconstructing or just pulling apart religion, and it doesn't really offer you anything at all.
You catch that? Atheism is childish. It's just plain. All it is. Imagine a child going over and they see a beautiful Lego castle that someone has built. And what do? Do they add to it? Do they build onto it? No. All they do is go, and they tear it down. That's what atheism is. It doesn't add to the world. It doesn't bring beauty. Matter of fact, anything atheism brings to the world, it's borrowing from Christianity. Atheism just breaks down. What does Christianity do? It builds. It makes the world beautiful, and it brings purpose to people.
To construct. And so there's nothing about it that is intelligible. It's just, hey, you're not right, and deal with it. But that's not how Christians really operate. Christians start from the point of, we had a personal experience. We've encountered Jesus of Nazareth. He has been made real to us in a way that we believe it's the Holy Spirit, and we come from the text. This is just where we start. So we start in different places, and I don't think we're ever going to be able to reconcile that. But again, I don't think that invalidates what we're attempting to say. So I always try to tell my students, take the pressure off of yourself in trying to prove God, because you're never going to be able to do it. You have to understand that if you've had an experience with God that you're talking about, that came from a personal experience, and that's the starting point, not some empirical truth about Christianity. That's not how we start. That's not how Paul talks about how we start. That's not New Testament Christianity. Christianity comes from, if you will, encounter or experience, and we move forward from there. And there are things that we are unable to answer. We can get into the theodicy question. We can talk about suffering. We can talk about things that we may not have the answers to, but our faith still works in spite of the fact that we don't have answers.
I think because we live in a world that is based off of the Age of Enlightenment, that we think we have to have proof. I had an encounter with the living God, and now I need to prove to you that it's real. But you can't. Listen, you can't prove love. You can't prove hatred. You can't prove. All you do is see the evidence of it. So you need to stop being afraid of proving to them on their terms that Christianity is real and what happened to you is real. You live your life for Jesus.
Now, atheists might say we're crazy for that, but it's something that people of faith are actually willing to live with. And that's not to say that Christianity doesn't have anything to offer the world. It has a lot to offer the world. And that's one argument that you could make. Tom Holland makes a huge argument for that in his recent book, Dominion. That doesn't prove Christianity. That doesn't prove God, but it does make a case that it's better to serve God and better to follow the teachings of Scripture. But again, it doesn't really prove anything. So Karl Barth, his estimation of atheism was that we were just supposed to make a better theological case for Christ and live our lives as witnesses instead of trying to engage the world or engage
Mm.
modernists on modernist terms. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. So one, taking the pressure off of going, it's not your job to make people believe in Jesus. It's your job to
Hmm.
represent Christ. It's your job to walk out what you believe. And then I guess taking Paul's perspective of, you know, it's the foolish things that confound the wise. It is the, it looks foolish like foolishness to the world,
Hmm.
but it is the wisdom of God, and it brings salvation. Okay, okay. Well, and I think that is helpful because we are trying to play their game.
Hmm.
And I was having a conversation with a young man, very bright kid, and he said he's a social Christian, but he's not. He doesn't believe that Jesus is God and everything, but he likes what it brings. And
Well,
um,
yeah, and Bart would point that out. Bart said this, I have the quote here. He says, atheism lives in and by negation. It can only break down and take away, and therefore it is exposed to the constant danger of finishing at a dead end. And I think that your friend you're talking about is sort of proving that point. I mean, what do you get at the end of atheism? You don't have anything. You're left with absolutely nothing. And
right.
so what does he have to do? He has to go borrow from another system that he thinks makes sense without accepting the system wholesale. So first, and he's doing that because morally, socially, he's finding himself at a dead end because what does atheism actually have to offer? Bart says
Hmm.
nothing. That's why it's childish. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that is a question. If you're watching this, I think that is a question that you may even pose to them is like, okay, so let's just say you're right. What does that mean for life? What does that mean as a person? How should you live your life based off of this? And
Hmm.
if it's not going to be complete anarchy and just do what you want, why not?
Yep.
And what are you
Yeah.
basing that off of?
Yeah. Exactly. So younger Christians, they could go to what Karl Barth said. I include this in my book. He says he really believed that Christianity didn't need to out argue atheism because again, it's like an atheist is coming saying, "Hey, you have to play these games. You have to answer empirically, or your God does not exist." Well, who said that you could create the rules? I get that that
Mm,
works for some things, but is it really everything in life? Is it really rational? I mean, are we not more than our rationale? Is
mm,
falling in love a logical decision? Are things that we do always logical? I mean, when you decided to marry somebody or fall in love, did you sit there and say, "Oh, I'm going to fall in love with this person"? I think that's an example that actually speaks to the fact that we're human beings that are more than just our rational faculties. I mean, Slava Zizek makes this argument very well. He kind of what he says is when he looks at Christian arguments for Christianity, he thinks the worst thing that a Christian can do is say the reason that I have decided to follow Christ is because I've looked at all of the religions, I've kind of teed them all up, and I've decided that Christianity is the best one. And he'd say that's not really the reason people follow Jesus. He says that people
mm-hmm,
or follow or choose a religion. It comes because they've had some sort of experience that draws them to it.
mm-hmm.
And that sort of experience that draws you to it produces within you the power to witness. And so Bart comes back on that and says that's exactly where Christians need to focus is not play modernist games.
Stop trying to play their game. Stop trying to let them be the ones who set the rules. When you're talking to your friends, say, I understand that I may not have all the answers to this in the Bible or that in the Bible. And I understand that what I have is off of faith. But in the end, where does your belief get you? Where does your belief in no God get you? Do you have more purpose? Do you have more direction? Do you feel more alive? Do you feel like there's a reason for you to even exist right now? When you die, where will you go? If there's nothing, then why should we love each other? Why should we care? Why should we save the planet? Why should we care about the animals or the environment? Why should we do any of these if it's all for nothing? Jesus gives reason because there's an eternity, we have a soul, and there's something more to live for. There's something greater, and we were made for greater. We all feel it. It's why we get that passion on the inside to do something great. It's why they're marching in the streets. Whether you agree with why they're marching or not, People want to do something that matters, and they want to do something that matters because Jesus said, you have a life and your life matters. Don't fall prey to the hostility against Christianity. They have nothing to offer, but you do, because you have Jesus.
Hey, I hope you're really enjoying this conversation. If you want to go deeper into this, if you want to hear the rest of the conversation, because we go into some big questions. So go listen to the rest of the conversation, download the 418 app, and grab the premium. It's only $5.99 a month. It's really not that much. It's a coffee a month, y'all. One coffee, tall coffee a month. Just go grab that. Thanks for being a part of the 418 fam. We'll talk to you later.